Hello everyone, welcome back to my newest painting process video. Today we're going to be creating a summer night scene. Right now, to begin, we're starting just with the composition of the shadows and the main highlights. This scene has a cabin. It is a scene at nighttime with the full moon, a lot of contrast and darkness. So I'm first starting with laying out where I want the glow of the windows from the cabin to be. One thing that I really like to do with my paintings, especially when I'm wanting to create the bright or the highlight aspects, is I like to make sure that I haven't laid down any darker color underneath that, especially with certain paint types. We're using gouache for this painting process, so I really wanted to make sure that those bright highlights of the glowing windows were very present. So I wanted to make sure that I got that layout first. I'm continuing just to go ahead and sketch the overall cabin shape, mostly starting just with the main layers of the sides and the roof and going in and starting with that. This is a scene that is from a place that I love to go every year, Miners Bay Lodge near Kawartha Lakes in Ontario. It's a beautiful place to go and rent cabins and enjoy the summer. So I do paintings for them every year, and I do sell some of my products in the gift shop and whatnot, so this will also be a part of that. But I'm now working on the actual sky portion. I'm working on adding the darker clouds, and like I did with the glowing windows, I'm leaving space for when the bright moon light is going to be, because I don't want to have any dark colors down, as I want that moonlight to be really bright. I'm going in now and looking at how I painted the clouds in the sky, reflecting that into the water that I'm going to have in the front portion of this painting. So just starting now to, like I said, look at the sky, and where I've painted the dark colors and the light colors, I'm reflecting that back into the water. For the paint that I'm using, I did mention briefly that I'm using gouache paint. I'm using Holbein Acryla gouache paint. I do have a larger color set of 80-ish colors that I use, and I'll have a full list of the exact colors that I used down below in the description in case you're wondering. But I am just freely mixing these colors as I go. I never pre-mix gouache paint just because of the consistency and how gouache paint works. Mixing it first really wouldn't be usable. If anyone's tried to do that, I don't think it really works, but I'm just mixing as we go on the palette here. And I'm starting now to kind of lay out all of the forest portion in the back that is behind the little lake pond area in the front there. So I'm just working on adding that to this scene as well. I really like this painting that I'm working on today because it's a little bit of a different color palette than I'm used to. Very moody colors. This really left me with a feeling of like nostalgia while I was painting it. Those summer evenings, those nights where you're out on the lake, you can just hear like the crickets and the frogs. That's really what I wanted to feel through this painting while I was painting it. And now I'm working on adding the brush and the foliage and the trees to the front portion of the painting. There's a lot of contrast and shadows in these trees and brushes, so I always kind of like to start with the darkest color of my trees, the really dark shadow color for that and the bushes, and start working on that and adding that first. And now that I've laid that out, I'm going in and I'm adding the color to the actual cabin itself. Now I really liked this part because I loved like the glowing kind of turquoise color that I was able to capture on the side of the house on this cabin. I feel like that color really worked nicely with the orange yellow glow from the cabin windows. It all just worked so well together. The colors really balanced each other out nicely. So working on that here, and I'm also using a variety of brushes. I love to use the Princeton Aqua Elite brushes for any time that I use gouache paint. That is the black brushes that you see, the one that I'm using here. I have a lot of those brushes. They're perfect for gouache paint, so I'll also have those tagged down below in case you want to check those out. It's one of my favorite brushes to use for gouache. So I'm using various sizes and shapes of this brush, some flat brushes in the Princeton Aqua Elite, some round ones, so just various sizes that I'm using there. And now I'm getting more in specifics and kind of drawing the little slates of wood and getting more detailed on the cabin portion, adding some shadows into the window parts and really making everything pop. Now that we've kind of finished up the main portion of the cabin, I'm going back into the sky, adding a little bit of details there, making sure that everything is looking as I want it to. Now I'm going to start adding the little greenery and foliage in the front of the cabin here. So as you see, a lot of the time, whenever I like to add any of my highlights or midtones, I always kind of like to leave that space blank until I'm ready, just to make sure that I don't go in with something that's too dark at first. I always like to give myself room and leniency, especially if you're not sketching your painting beforehand. Like this was all just, as you can see, I'm free sketching right now, this cabin. So when you're not sketching anything beforehand, I feel like it's really important just to remember that certain compositions and structures in your painting may change. So leave room for that if you haven't sketched it, because sometimes the way that you think a painting is going to look from the photo to the canvas is actually not how it composes well. So sometimes you have to change things, and you just want to make sure that you have the room to do so without having a ton of paint down already and you're like, well, highlight's not going to be highlighted here. So just a little bit of my tidbit of information that I've learned from painting over the years. But I'm now kind of getting into the final portions of my painting, adding more of the shadows to the cabin's reflection, adding the trees and the foliage to the reflection in the water. But I'm loving how this is turning out. It's one of my favorite things to do, is make paintings of nature, and incorporating little cabins and houses and whatnot into it, I think is really fun to do. And just finishing up, adding a little bit more of that green into the reflection in the water, making sure that my cabin reflects and makes sense with what it looks like on the land and in the water, and adding a few little tidbits into the moon portion of the reflection as well, to make sure that the sky is really bright in the reflection as well, and that moonlight is shining. Overall, this painting took me a few hours to make, nothing crazy. It's a 5x7 canvas, so nothing huge or, a giant painting, but it was really fun to complete this one. It's the perfect size for postcards and whatnot that I'm going to have made for this painting. And if you're wanting to shop my full collection on my website, I'll have that linked down below as well, so you guys can check out all of the other prints, original paintings, postcards, and whatnot that I have available. And that is pretty much it for this painting process. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to ask me any questions or clarify anything at all, please feel free to in the comments, and I will respond as soon as I can. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next painting process.